All right, everybody, welcome to another Raleigh Young Professionals member spotlight. I am excited to have a conversation with my friend, Tyler, Mr. Tyler Burton. How are you, sir?
I am doing well. It's good to see you again, Chuck. How you doing?
Good to see you, man. It was fun. We had a conversation just a couple weeks ago, so I was excited to do this again. I'm glad you made time and we were able to coordinate it. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a joy of mine.
Well, the first conversation we had was very interesting to me, and so I've got the inside scoop, and I want to share it with our group a little bit about who you are and what you do, because I just thought it was very unique and it was inspiring, and I think other people could benefit from knowing you and knowing the company you're part of. So let's start there. Like, share with everybody a little bit about who you are and where you're from and what you're doing for a living right now.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Chuck. Thank you. And thanks again just for having me on. It's good to be able to reconnect with you, but also get to talk about what I get to do. So yeah, I'm Tyler, originally from Tampa, Florida. So I used to hate Tom Brady. I now love him. Go Bucks. Very excited for what's going to be happening in the next few days. I moved up to North Carolina a few years ago to start my Master's of Divinity at Southeastern Seminary. The desire long-term, hopefully, to become a pastor. But in the meantime, I'm currently just finding a job, trying to get some full-time income. About a year ago, met this girl, which is usually how a great story starts, Chuck, right? Like you meet a girl and then everything goes crazy. Yeah, that's always the best story. Met a girl, figured out really quickly that I wanted to spend my life with this girl, and I needed a full-time job and was just kind of hustling, making ends meet, and reached out to a few friends and a few different networks trying to find out what was available. And a buddy of mine worked for this company called Turas. And so I heard the name and I was like, I don't really know what that means or what they do. And then looked them up, and I had a category in my brain kind of for recruiting and helping people get jobs, but wasn't entirely sure. And then I came and checked out who we are and came and checked out what Turas does and was in hook, line, and sinker. And so I've been with Turas since actually the first week of the pandemic was my first day. So the week of the shutdown in March last year was my first day at Turas. So almost a year. And what a year it's been, that's for sure.
Yeah, okay. I love that. So I can relate similarly to big life changes happening right at the quarantine too. So what about, so you're in school still some, you're working, and you got time for anything else you do, and do you have spare time?
Spare time. Yeah, I would love to know what spare time is. That's something I'm not familiar with. But yeah, in addition to doing school, reading a bunch, and getting to work for this company, I love just being outside. So like my wife and I go on hikes, even in the cold. We like just being outdoors and getting sun on our face in some capacity. Yeah, spending time with friends, having people in our home. I cook. I'm a decent cook. Like it's edible at least. I like doing that and having fun and being creative there.
So that was an open invitation to all 6,000 members to come over for dinner, I heard.
Come on over. 2-bedroom apartment, but we'll fit. We'll make it happen. Let's do it.
We'll get a RSVP list started. What about you mentioned reading? Any favorite books or anything you're currently reading that you think we should know about?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I read a lot. So I'm actually the fun read right now is Harry Potter. I'd never read Harry Potter in my life. So I just finished up Order of the Phoenix. I'm now on Half-Blood Prince. That's what I'm reading right now. In addition to that, I'm reading a biography of a pastor from the 16th century, guy named John Owen. Been learning a lot about him. And it's funny to see how he sees business and how he sees how these things can work in the world. So I've just been learning and reading about him as well.
Okay, right on. Okay, so you're part of the Raleigh Young Professionals group, which is how we connected. Are you part of any other networking groups or anything else you think might be benefit or add value to any of our members? Maybe they should check out.
Yeah, one group I really loved was the Raleigh Durham Small Business Owners and Professionals.
Yeah,
that's a group I've been involved with for a little bit. You familiar with them, Chuck?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, great community, good people, just really good to network in there.
Okay, awesome. So let's swing back to you and what you do for work right now. So talk to me a little bit about Turas. You mentioned a friend of yours suggested you connect with the company. You went and you took a look. Like, tell us more about, I guess there's more. I'm betting there's more to that story. But tell us more about that and vision and mission. Like, I want to hear it all.
Yeah. So went to go visit Turas, and on my first day, it was a shadow essentially. So you come in the morning. And every morning, the team gets together and talks about things that they saw positively throughout the day. So what was impactful in interactions with your colleagues, interactions with your clients, with your candidates, with your cities. Really just unusual to have a first year day start that way, especially as you're going to check out a company. So that right off the bat, I knew the culture in and of itself was different. Then I got to talk with Michael, our CEO, and heard the vision behind the company. So Turos is a recruiting firm. Essentially, we help people get jobs, but most recruiting firms exist in the white collar space. So they're helping sort of high level positions, high level firms make high level hires. And a lot of times, white collar hiring is very prestigious. You are taken very well care of by recruiters. You're usually sought after really well by recruiters. But in low wage hiring, it's very exploitative. So usually low wage hiring is incredibly transactional. If it's not incredibly transactional, it's usually costly, especially overseas. Overseas, the cost of getting a job is higher than getting the job itself. You have to pay for the opportunity to apply at a job overseas, right? So this is in Indonesia, this is in Dubai, these are all these other spaces. And so Michael, our boss, essentially asked, what would it look like if there was a company that existed in the low wage space, but treated low wage workers the way that high wage workers are treated? What would it look like if you took the time to, on interviews, care for candidates, right? To actually present them with a relationship rather than a transaction? What would it look like to, on interviews, coach them, get job coaching and interview coaching on the interview, right? In a space where ordinarily you would never get job coaching. What would it look like to not only do that in 10-minute windows with one person, but on every single interview and every single phone call? So he started this company 4 years ago, excuse me, I think it's 6 years ago. One of our first contacts was with the RVRTP Chick-fil-A down here in Durham. Got to partner with them. Initially, they said, hey, I need 10 hires. Then they said, I need 20. Then they said, can we do an annual contract? And from there, we've been able to partner with numerous different stores all over the US, Chick-fil-A, non-Chick-fil-A. We're kind of all over. We're in the food and beverage space. We're working in machinery and in low wage warehouses spaces as well. And really, it's for the purpose of providing people in the low wage space with an ethical, caring, and redemptive element in their recruiting. One thing that we see all the time, Chuck, is people will come into interviews and they'll say things in an interview that make you cringe, right? That's like, oh, you shouldn't say it. You would get the job if you didn't say that, right? How many times do you think that person has walked into that job and said that exact same thing?
A lot.
But has never had anybody tell them you shouldn't do it, right? Like that's just how they think it should go. What we get the chance to do is interact with people every single day and say, hey, look, you might not get a job here. Let me tell you what you need to do to get a job next time, right? And then they can go home and put those things into practice for the next interview. Additionally, when we reject candidates, which we have to reject candidates all the time, we actually send them job coaching tips for their next interview. So we tell them, okay, you didn't get this job. Here's a pamphlet, it's a 2-page PDF on what to do next time you're in your next interview, right? So that's essentially who we are and what we do. And when I heard that, I was in from the start. I was in hook, line, and sinker. I did not know that you could have a company that was so focused on, yes, being successful. Yes, we want to grow, but we want to do this and care for people who ordinarily would not get the caring and the opportunities that most people get. So that's how I ended up where I am. So I currently do. So I do kind of a lot for them. I've had people be like, hey, what do you do? I don't really know. I don't know what my title is. On LinkedIn, it's technically senior sales consultant. So I do sales, I do account management, I do a bunch of different things, but yeah, that's Turos.
I love that. And that's what I love so much from our first conversation. And there's so many things in there that you said that that resonated with me that I can connect to. One is that the focus on relationships over transactions. Anybody that's ever had a 5-second conversation with me knows that's why I started. That's how I started my real estate business. Like I saw so many people that were only focused on the transaction, and I'm like, I'm never going to do that. So that just hit me really hard when you said that. The other thing was, for anybody that's ever been to a Chick-fil-A, like it makes sense. Like the employees that work at Chick-fil-A, it just blows my mind. Like the care that I get taken care of when I go there, the way that I'm taken care of there. So like that makes sense. Like I totally get it. I really appreciate so much of of this mission, this vision, that you can build a successful business and take care of people at the same time. Like, why do we even have to have this conversation, right? Why does that even have to be a thing? However it is. So I'm grateful that we've been able to talk about this and bring this company to life, bring you and the work you're doing to life. You know, through this video that we're doing here and through this networking group, are there any ideal connections you're looking to make, or say somebody's watching this video, how do they know if they're a good, maybe not if they're the right person to connect with you? Anybody should connect if you're watching this. But like, who are you looking to specifically connect with?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say really that's in three categories. So the first category would be partners, right? Who are people who are thinking the same way, right? People who are like, what does it look like to enter into a space that no one's entering into, and act in a caring way in that space? Our mission as a company is to redeem the people business. Well, the people business is hiring, and we want to enter into a space that's normally exploitative and make it redemptive, take something that's broken and help to fix it. And so who else is doing that, right? So who are other people that are wanting to do that same thing? Partners. Those are people I'd love to talk to. I'd also love to connect to people who are wanting to exist kind of in that B Corp impact space. So we recently just acquired Amplio Recruiting, a phenomenal recruiting firm out of Clarkston, Georgia. Clarkston, Georgia is has the highest concentration of refugees per 1 square mile in the entire US. And they're a refugee specific recruiting firm. So what we've done is we brought Amplio into our business because we need who Amplio is. We don't just want to care for the low wage worker. We want to care for the refugee. We want to care for the orphan, for the widow. And so if you're somebody who's in a B Corp space, in an impact space, who has a heart for caring for that low wage worker, but also caring for the refugee and the unwanted in our society, I would love to connect with you. And probably the final thing is anybody who wants to do hiring in an ethical way. Right? If you want to hire for your company and you're either in housekeeping, you're in the food and beverage industry, you're in the warehouse industry, and you want to do hiring and you want to hire in this space, but you want to care for people at the same time, we can be the kind of partner that can help you in order to do that. So I would say those are the three things.
I love that. Okay, so somebody's watching this video right now, they want to connect with you, they want to learn more. Like, we could keep talking all day, and actually would really like to. So I really enjoyed this conversation.
I would too.
But for the sake of time and everybody's attention span, say somebody's watching this and they want to connect with you and learn more, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, LinkedIn, always the best. Shout out the Raleigh Young Pros group. Go ahead and find me on there, add me there, message, everything else will go from there. From there, it's email, text message. I text way quicker than email, so we can figure all that out, but definitely find me on LinkedIn and connect.
Totally agree, man. I'm about way too takes me way too long to respond on email, but a text, you'll get me right away. But Tyler, sir, I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for being here. I've appreciated your contribution to this group and sharing everything that you've got going on. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your time, Chuck.
You're welcome, man. Pleasure has been all mine. Raleigh Young Professionals, thanks for checking out another member spotlight video. I look forward to coming at you real soon with another one, so stay tuned.